Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join his mission.
Kingdom innovation, or innovation in mission. It's not a topic we generally talk about.
For sure. It's something that is really important to the kingdom and has been essentially kind of in the background all the way through. If you look all the way back through the scriptures, you see how God is always doing a new thing. But the idea of doing it as a discipline is not necessarily been something we've thought of. We've just done it just because we've had a huge challenge. And when you have a huge challenge, you do new things, right? And so it's been one of those things that has been done well over many, many centuries, but not necessarily talked about well.
I see. And I would be remiss to mention, are we lagging behind some currents of culture in the Christian world? I mean, generally, typically, if you're going to visit some Christian websites or ministries, they might not be the most avant-garde on the market.
Yeah, I would not answer it quite that way. There's a narrative that we hear a lot that nonprofits are behind and we don't have the resources and all that. And I think there's some truth to that narrative, but I think it's overplayed in the sense that what I think the real issue is not that we're not innovative, but we don't have all the professional words and practices and systems of the big corporate world around innovation. Meaning the kind of innovation we do is very deprofessionalized and organic, whereas the innovation that we see in the marketplace is very systematized and programmatized. And so what I'm trying to do with a lot of the work that I'm doing is harness the wonderful innovation that's already happening in God's kingdom and give it some of the key professional understanding that will help it to be more effective and more impactful.
Awesome. Okay, I love you clarifying that, and I think it's a fair assumption then to mention that, or something to point out. Now, why don't you catch us up a little bit with your journey? Because it's not something that you naturally come into to start a website called generousmind.com. What do you mean by generous mind? How did you come into this position where you're really trying to harness people's creativity and make their ideation come to fruition?
Yeah. Well, my wife and I, we graduated from college together and with the same degree and really felt God calling us to work as a team. And so we went to work for a ministry it was called back then Book of Hope International. Now it's called One Hope. And they distribute harmonies of the four Gospels to children in public schools around the world. And they hired us to come and do one of the very first interactive youth evangelistic websites back in 1998. Wow. So the real early days of the internet. And it began in us a passion and a commitment to essentially design and develop new things. They surrounded us with a board of really top-notch people from industry and kind of just said, hey, go figure it out. And so in that environment, it was very innovative, very entrepreneurial environment. That kind of launched me into framing my career in ministry around that sort of activity. And then I just spent my whole career in various roles, all doing similar things to that. And I think it was about our 10th anniversary. My wife Mindy and I were talking and just kind of evaluating where God had us and what we were up to and what He wanted us to be up to. And this idea, she really came up with it first. This idea that what we really wanted to do was help people to be generous with their ideas. It kind of was birthed in us this idea that being generous with ideas. We're already generous with our time, with our talent, and our treasure. But so many of us have wonderful ideas that are just locked away. And so this idea of being a generous mind or being generous with the ideas that God has given us connected with that entrepreneurial and innovative spirit that kind of was at the very beginning of our career, and then God kind of has developed throughout a whole bunch of roles and startups and ministries and things. Those two things have kind of come together and melded into the work that we do today. On the side with Generous Mind is more of a think tank, and then my full-time role with SIL, really helping develop innovators within SIL and designing new programs and services for SIL.
Excellent. And I mean, the whole theme, though, of this is very much Great Commission. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I think I've always been involved in Great Commission work. I grew up as a missionary kid in Latin America.
Oh, did you?
Grew up in Argentina and then in Venezuela. So always been connected to and involved in the Great Commission. I would say my heart is to view that Great Commission in the broadest sense possible. While I've done a lot of work with focused on the unreached and focused on kind of the frontier mission side, also supporting a lot of the other areas of mission that are focused on discipleship in the existing church, and trying to see innovation and idea sharing throughout all those areas, because of course they're all needed, they just are different in their role.
Missions Pulse. Know God's heart, join His mission. This podcast is powered by Within Reach Global. Subscribe, watch, and listen on YouTube today. Visit missionspulse.com.